Hey guys, welcome back to Off the Field Cricket Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the Rajasthan Royals. The first thing that comes to mind when we think about the RR is their foreign players. And their premier foreign batsman keeper is Joss Butler. I mean, what a player, right? Look at the previous series gone by between England, Pakistan, England, West Indies. I think he struggled a bit with the gloves, but with the bat, he's been exceptional. He's
England,
improved
Australia
as
too. England, Australia.
yeah, he's improved as the series have gone on. So he's in red hot form right now, and he's opted out for the third T20 against Australia. But I think in the two T20s when he did open, he was extremely destructive, and he can literally take the game away from the opposition. We saw that in the 2018 season as well, when Rajasthan needed to win all of their matches to qualify. Josh Butler made a 50 in all of those matches. So I think he's their key man if RR are to do well in this tournament yet again.
As you said, the likes of Butler, Stokes, Smith, their strength really lies in their foreign pool of players, I guess, because they've got a great bunch of players, match-winning players, in the likes of Smith, Miller, Butler, Archer, Stokes, who was meant to be there earlier. There's speculations that he may not be there in the first half of the tournament.
Mhm.
Talking about Smith, he's quite a busy player. He's a touch player rather than someone who smokes the ball, someone like a Russell. So he stays busy in the middle, keeps nudging the ball here and there, rotating the strike, keep the scoreboard ticking. And then you have the likes of Butler, Stokes, and Miller, who can turn the tables in any passage of the game. Right. On the other hand, in the bowling department, I think they've got quite a few strike bowlers, wicket taking bowlers in the form of Archer, Varun Aaron, Shreyas Gopal. We've seen how Gopal has gotten some of the biggest fishes in the game in the T20 format. Virat Kohli, AB de Villiers from the RCB. So
So
if
I
if
think
you have
the
such strike
bowling,
bowlers, then it always puts you in good stead as a team.
I think RR's bowling lineup this season actually looks pretty good. If you see
Yeah.
the spin department, I think they've taken a few players in the auction and they've also traded a few. So I think they've gotten a few leg spinners in their midst. So I think that's a great thing, and their pace attack also looks pretty decent. So I think overall RR has a pretty decent pace and spin attack this season.
As an auction strategy, I'd say they've done a fairly good job at getting valid decent replacements for some of their foreign pool, such as for Miller, for Smith slash Stokes. There is David Miller, who's unlikely to get a game, but he's there as a replacement. Then you have Markande and Tewatia for Gopal, but I still feel they'll play Tewatia or Markande alongside Shreyas Gopal as a second spinner, but and there's O'Shane Thomas for someone like a Archer if he's likely to miss a game. So overall, they've got all their bases covered. There's no stone unturned in terms of the replacements that are there for some of their match-winning players. So in terms of that, the auction's gone really well for them. And I think one of the biggest points, which is so unnoticed and it is not given that much validity, because I think it reaps you rewards in the future rather than, it's not a short term investment, it's quite a long term investment if I have to speak in an economics point of view. Because the likes of they've acquired some rookies, in the form of Yashasvi Jaiswal. They've backed the likes of Riyan Parag at the back end. Then you have Kartik Tyagi, some of the future players for the Rajasthan Royals, future superstars, who, if nurtured and molded appropriately, can become future match winners for their franchise. And these are always the players which take experience from certain franchises and go on and perform for other franchises. So if RR successfully back these young, bright talent, then it could reap them rewards in the future, not in the short term, but maybe in the long term.
And another thing that they've done well, I think, is replacing Rahane with two leg spinners. I think they already had that Indian batting in the likes of Sanju Samson,
Yeah.
Riyan Parag, and they've gotten Robin Uthappa as well in the auction. So Rahane really wasn't fitting in there, especially when once he was removed from the captaincy. So I think that way they've traded Rahane for Tewatia and Markande. So I think
Yeah.
that was a great strategy
Yeah.
on Rajasthan by Rajasthan. So.
Now let's move on to the weaknesses. I feel there are quite a few pivotal ones. I'd say that could render ominous for the Rajasthan Royals. To start with, I think there's no variety in the spin department. As you said, they traded Tewatia and Markande for Rahane, which is quite a major transfer as such. But I feel if you until you don't have that versatility and diversity in your spin department, then it's pretty much if you have that same spin bowlers you've got, because you have Markande, you have Tewatia, you have Shreyas Gopal. So firstly, there is doubt as to whether two leg spinners will play or not. A problem that RCB is having because they've gotten Zampa now recently. So whether they'll play Zampa and Yuzi Chahal, or in their case they'll play Markande and Shreyas Gopal. So that's a thought that will be running in their heads at the moment. Because if they would have had variety, that strengthens their ability to bowl to both left-handers and right-handers. But in this case, it's not to be. So that's one of the major weaknesses.
Obviously, if Unatkar does do well, it's going to be a great boon for them. But again, if he's not able to replicate his or emulate his form from the RPS season, I think that's going to create a hole for Rajasthan in the depth, because they do have the likes of Varun Aaron and the foreign players in Tom Curran, O'Shane Thomas, and Andrew Tye. But these guys haven't been as great as the depth as maybe Unatkar was a few years back. So I think it's extremely vital for Unatkar to do well in this tournament. And if he is not doing well and he's out of form, I think there's a big hole there for Rajasthan with no one partnering Archer at the death.
Another point is, I think they're finishing. I think someone who can bat at 5, 6, 7, because they had Stokes. Now he's missing for the first half of the tournament. So until then, I think they have Rian Parag to do the business at the back end of the innings. They have Rahul Tewatia. They have Miller. Now the thing with Miller is, I think if they play Miller, they consume a foreign, player. So that could be, I don't know, Butler. They're obviously not going to let go of. They're not going to let go of Smith because he's their captain. So obviously, that it is likely that they're not going to play Miller. That he's not going to make. He's not going to make the playing 11. So that consumes, or that vacates the shoes of the finisher, right? So because obviously Stokes, when he comes back, he'll play that role in the second half of the tournament. Obviously there's speculations at the moment, so no one's sure of what's going to happen, how it's going to pan out. But at the moment, with what we know of and the uncertainty that is there with Stokes, I think this is quite a concern for RR, because Stokes does that. Obviously Stokes, even if he's there, he's not been in the best of forms in the IPL. He's quite a hot and cold player for the RR. He's never had a breakthrough season as such where he's got around 500 runs or something. So even if he's there, he's not the Mr. Dependable for the Rajasthan Royals, unlike someone like a Butler. So that is a matter of concern at the moment.
And speaking about hot and cold, I think RR's batsmen have been quite hot and cold. Be it the likes of Steve Smith. I think he had one great season with RPS in 2017, but the next 2 years with RR, obviously he wasn't playing 1 year in 2018, but the 2019 season wasn't too great for him. He was playing with a strike rate of about 100, 110 about.
Yeah.
So he had quite a poor season last year. Then talking about Sanju Samson, he's looked great in patches. He definitely presents a case for the Indian wicket keeping spot. But again, he's been very inconsistent. Great in patches, but then not performing as consistently as he should be.
Yeah.
Then furthermore, looking at Robin Uthappa, I remember he used to be that guy who you wanted to watch. He had such great lofted drives and great strokes. But I think that year in last year or the year before that, I think he was consistently making scores of 9 of 20 and 8 of 21. So I think he was struggling a lot. So he's also been that hot and cold player. Same with Ben Stokes. He had a great season with RPS in 2017. He was the man of the tournament in 2017. But after that, for RR, he's not performed up to what we have seen he can perform. Like in the Ashes, we saw that innings. And in the World Cup as well. So he's not been able to replicate that form in the IPL.
Okay, so now let's segue into probably the most anticipated segment of the show, which is the discussion of the playing 11s. And the way we're going to do this is, because I think we have discussed our playing 11s prior to the show, and we have quite similar ones. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to be explaining the batsmen and the all-rounders, while he's going to be explaining the selections in the bowling department. So to begin with, I think at the top they have two options. They can either go with Manan Vora or a Yashasvi Jaiswal. So as I said before, if they're playing Jaiswal, they probably have the lens of they have that future vision in place for him, that they're trying to back him over the years, trying to see his progress, whether he's the right fit at that position or he should be moved down the order. So that judgment that needs to be made, I think if that is to be made, then they need to play Jaiswal at the top and really see how he fares against the because IPL is obviously another ball game altogether, and you need to test those new players out before you make them a common choice in your team. So that's up to RR what they want to do. Obviously, Vora has been quite hot and cold, so it completely is up to RR who they want to go with, and it's a no-brainer that Butler has to play at the top, and he's done
Yeah.
wonders for them. He's had a golden run, a golden summer as well, so he's going to be the keeper as well. And at number 3, I think he's someone I've admired really over the years. He's Sanju Samson. I think he's the type of player who possesses all the talent in the world. Some of the greatest skill sets as far as batting potential is concerned, but fails to deliver consistently. I think it was that season in 2017 where he scored that 90 odd against RCB. He had a wonderful start to the tournament, but failed to replicate that throughout, the latter stage as well. So this is something that he needs to focus on, becoming more consistent and not just, you go hell for leather at the top and then, and then not make runs at the back end of the innings, or just lose your wicket being irresponsible. So he's got to learn to be more responsible.
I think he has been playing before Rishabh Pant as well. So ideally, he should have been playing instead of Rishabh Pant in the Indian team. But I think he has himself to blame. As you said, he makes a couple of great scores at the top, but then he fails to replicate it throughout. And that is why I think Rishabh Pant has gone ahead in the race, because in the IPL, Rishabh Pant is much more consistent than Sanju Samson. So I think this year it'll be very interesting to see how all 3 of the Indian wicket-keeping option performs. That is KL Rahul, Sanju Samson, and Rishabh Pant. It'll be great to see.
But undoubtedly, I think Sanju Samson is quite an impact player on his day. He can play the lofted shots in the. He has that power game. He can go over the infield in the power play. He's quite a pocket dynamo. So he's quite a good prospect if they persist with him, and then you can obviously judge as to where he's heading. So he's quite a future. He's a man for the future for the RR. At number 4, you have Steve Smith. He's quite a busy cricketer. Will keep the scoreboard ticking. He's quite a nifty, batsman. As in that sense, he nudges the ball around. As you said, he plays at a strike rate of 100 to 120 odd, and it's up to the other players, the likes of Butlers, the Stokes in your team, to do the power hitting. So he'll take care of taking the singles, rotating the strike. And at number 5, it makes the role of a finisher even more important, because at number 4 you have someone like a Steve Smith who doesn't have the power game. So you can either go with Miller to sort of even that out and have that power player there, or you can go with Uttappa. The experience of Uttappa, he's got vast experience playing for the KKR. He's been of a side that's won the IPL as well in 2014. So he provides that experience at number 5, and they both haven't been in the best of forms, but it entirely depends on RR who they want to play, because playing Miller will consume that overseas spot. So it's up to them who they want to play. And number 6, Riyan Parag. I feel he got that gritty 50 for the Rajasthan Royals against the Delhi Capitals after they were tottering at around 30 for 4, I remember. And he's got great hands, a very nifty player. Obviously doesn't move his feet as much, but after all, it's been playing on UAE pitches. It's all right until it pays off. So not bringing in the India aspect to it, he's a decent player for the IPL at the moment. And considering he's 17, he's quite good for that. You can't be you can't be overly critical on such players. He's still learning. He's in that learning phase at the moment. You'll have learning curves as you move around, as you progress in your career. So he's still young, and let's give him a space. And I think Riyan Parag is at number 6, and now you can go on with the bowling.
If Ben Stokes is available, I think he bats as 6. We all know how destructive he can be, although he hasn't been in the best of forms in the IPL. We all know how destructive he can be with the bat and with ball. So I think he slots in at 6. And obviously, if Stokes is playing, Riyan might have to bat at 7 as an all-round option, because he provides that part-time leg spin as well. So that gives you another leg spin option. Then I think you have Shreyas Gopal at 8. As you mentioned earlier, he's gotten the big fish out consistently. Virat Kohli and AB de Villiers have been his bunny all this for over the past few years. So Shreyas Gopal definitely plays at 8. Mayank Markande, he had a breakout season in 2018. I think against the CSK, he took 4 wickets and they were bamboozled completely. So I think Mayank Markande with Shreyas Gopal can be quite deadly.
Absolutely.
Although, as we mentioned earlier, it's a one-dimensional attack with both leg spinners, and even Riyan Parag, the third spinning option, is also a leg spinner. So that way, they don't have a different dimension in the spin attack, but these two spinners are top quality. Then you have either, as we mentioned before, Unatkut, crucial to RR's key to success. So if Unatkut is at 10, if he can perform well, RR will
He has
can
great
can
cutters. He
and
has
will
great cutters.
great cutters, and he's
He's a
been in
rare
red hot.
commodity. He's a rare commodity because he's a left-arm medium pace,
Um,
honestly. So
exactly. And then obviously you have Jofra Archer at 11. He's been great in the IPL. I think he's been great in the BBL and the IPL. He's great in the T20s. So great prospect. And if Archer and Unatkut, as we mentioned before, if they can work well in a pair, I think RR have a great bowling attack. But the good thing is that they have replacements for Unatkut. They have Varun Aaron. If Unatkut is out of form, and if RR run out of patience with Unatkut, I think they have Varun Aaron to slot in there. And also, as you mentioned before, Jofra Archer has those replacements. You have Tom Curran, you have Andrew Tan, and you have O'Shane Thomas. I think RR's bowling attack they have a lot of backup options basically. But obviously, with this 11, you have three pace options in Unatkut, Archer, and Ben Stokes if he's playing. And you have three spin options as well in Riyan Parag, Shreyas Gopal, and Mayank Markande. So moving on to our predictions, I think all teams in this IPL are pretty good. But I think Rajasthan Royals isn't as good as the other teams on paper, at least. So
yeah.
for me, they would slot in at the number 7 position. Um,
Especially with
and
Stokes missing out for the majority of the tournament, I think it makes it even more difficult for RR to qualify in the first place. To all the RR fans out there, I think this is a huge disclaimer because I'll be putting them in the number 8 position. It's quite a pity that despite having such a good squad, I feel it's just a competition of the tournament that I have to. It's such a pity that I have to put them at number 8. But I think it's the absence of Stokes that dampens their chances even more. And as Neil said, so yeah, sadly that's the reality, and hopefully they can prove us wrong. But for now, on paper, that's what we think of it.
So that is it for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked our work, please do subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. And do let us know what you think about our predictions and where do you see our Rajasthan Royals qualifying.
Do follow our Instagram page as well. We have started an Instagram page where we put our put snippets to our episodes, as well as there are reels for that. So go check that out if you want. See you guys in the next one. Peace.
It's like it's playtime when it's free time. In the dance, yeah, they have it like a glance. Yeah, we stepping out the room.